So let me start by just asking everybody to lower their expectations substantially. I think as an engineer with a presentation which largely is full of stats, to follow a discussion with three professional, highly charismatic presenters is a unique challenge, one I'm certain I'm not going to be able to meet, but I'll definitely do my best. So I'm going to talk specifically around the data that is that we're able to pull from all of our merchant base across live video shopping, and hopefully get you guys an idea of what does success look like across our various channels. What are the top 10% of our customers doing to really excel in this format, and how repeatable are their methods? So we've generally seen that live video shopping is an incredibly effective channel for engagement, attention, and conversion. And look, I work for Bambuser, of course I'll tell you this. Ultimately, the average playback durations we see more than 5.5 minutes on a global basis. Almost 20% of users either choosing to chat or create some other high engagement and enhanced engagement model, reacting with an emoji, using any of the response channels. It is a real kind of lean-in model. And the amount of revenue that we're able to pull per unique viewer on live video shopping channels of $29 is really astonishingly powerful. Having said that, the top 10% of our customers see absolutely spectacular outcomes. And I'm continually surprised by, to use a slightly lazy American analogy, how much they're able to outkick our coverage. 26 minutes of average playback duration. These are people who are really engaging with the content. Almost 2/3 of people choosing either to chat or to react directly in a stream, and $106 of revenue per unique viewer. Ultimately, no matter how you slice your CPA models, the return on investment is staggering when you're in our top 10%. So what sets the best performing merchants apart? And I think one of the themes that we've heard so far is there isn't a secret sauce. And that's definitely true. We couldn't onboard a new customer and talk them through exactly how to outperform. But we can definitely provide a degree of data insight that hopefully drives the best types of behaviors as a really great starting point. The first of these is around frequency. So we see that merchants who deliver more than 4 shows a month, so people who are really building a kind of habitual model to broadcasting, will see 70% more revenue per show than those who are choosing to really have a much lower frequency live video shopping model. And we typically tend to see that engagement is more than 11% higher. We also see that persistence pays. So my slightly kind of lazy analogy for how I talk about persistence is, this is how you get over the hump, from show number 1 to show number 10. When we onboard you, we're always going to talk an awful lot about how, to begin with, you might not see the outcomes that you're really desiring from your live video shopping strategy. But if you persist, you will really start to see a step change in those outcomes. Purchase likelihood increases by 42% from show number 1 to show number 10. And purchase volumes, both the number of items that are being added to carts and those items that, from a GMV perspective, are being transacted, will grow by almost 80%. We also think, as we've talked a lot in all the previous sessions, that it's worth investing in interacting. So merchants who answer more than 50% of the open questions in any chat session will see an almost 40% increase in the number of items added to a cart in a show. This is a real staggering return on investment. And again, it kind of plays into the fact that live video shopping should be a two-way conversation with your customers. It's how you build loyalty, and ultimately, it's how you drive conversion. You should take your time. There's no reason for you to be constrained by a particular start time and an end time. It's another wonderful paradigm that you operate under with live video shopping. Nobody's telling you that because of a broadcast window, you've got to stop at 10:30 on the dot. We find that merchants who have shows that average more than 30 minutes will tend to see 42% higher average playback durations, as well as a 10% increase in average order size by consumers who are watching that show. And finally, we also know that, to be honest, if you want to be successful, probably the easiest and laziest thing to do is just publish your shows in the afternoon. You'll see a 129% increase in average viewership. And this is pretty consistent across industries. The only vertical we see that bucks this trend is consumer electronics. But for the rest of the time, if you don't work in consumer electronics, put your shows in the afternoon and people are much more likely to engage and get out their wallets. So how do we take a lot of these insights, and how do we use them to drive our product roadmap? Ultimately, I think one of Bambuser's big structural advantages is the fact that we have 3 years and a fairly large corpus of data to start from. And that really allows us to build data models that create virtuous cycles for every merchant on our platform. We really believe that all ships rise with the tide. As we get more intelligent and we're able to provide those insights to our customers, they are more likely to succeed. They are more likely to, through word of mouth or otherwise, invest in Bambuser as a business. So this all starts with our product development process. We start with a product hypothesis. We move into design. We go through software development, and then we release a feature upgrade to general availability. It's a very common process. We, however, make sure that every one of these steps is informed with data. The hypothesis has to be driven by basic data analysis. The product design process has to involve a large number of user interviews and extensive user research. The software development cycles have to be focused around both user interviews as we produce very early versions of feature upgrades, and then we also have to do split releases so that we can potentially release a new feature to 10% of our audience, understand that it converts in the way we expect, and then look to provide it as a more generally available feature. Over the past 12 months, we've been using our data to make a series of very high-impact UI and UX changes to the embedded video experience. So this is ultimately the Bambuser player that lives on all of our merchants' websites and apps. A few examples would be the upgrades that we made to the product display page. We went from something that was comparatively quite flat and simple, this runs on top of the video player, to something much more dynamic, a much richer metadata set, being able to add video and photo galleries. And we found that from the point at which we made this upgrade, add-to-cart actions increased by almost 20% across our entire network. We also found that by providing more powerful tools to allow people to interact in the chat, we'd be able to drive the right types of increased chat behaviors. We released a multi-party mode where you can have dedicated members of your team as a merchant responsible just for responding to questions. And what we found when we released that piece of software into general availability is that by giving our merchants better tools, chat messages being sent, exchanges happening, investment from our customers into our software drove a 15% increase in chat messages sent over the course of a live show. And finally, we released a channel-based discovery embed, which is a very simple zero-code iframe that can be dropped into any merchant's website to provide a single dedicated landing page for live video shopping. And this is everything from upcoming shows to live shows that are currently in progress, all the way to a single place for people's video archive to live. The channel-based discovery model was it was a very successful release, and during the period of testing it out, we saw the average viewership per show increased by 60% because we were seeing a large number of people joining archive streams because they were suddenly easily available on all of our merchant sites. So in H2, we are very focused on supercharging the merchant creator experience with real-time data. And we're going to be releasing a brand new feature which will be integrated across our one-to-many platform, which is called Bambuser Live Insights. Bambuser Live Insights are essentially real-time product nudges. They are us attempting to supercharge creators with really intelligent, real-time, constantly updating data. These are a series of native in-application prompts that are updated in real time to provide simple insights for producers who are right in the thick of the action. An example of this would be optimized event scheduling. When any of our creators are putting together their event schedule, it shouldn't be a guesstimate about Wednesday at 4 o'clock being the most effective time to publish. We want to give you that information as you're thinking about generating your upcoming schedule. We want to simplify production choices. How many items should you include in a show to make sure that you're guaranteeing engagement, guaranteeing conversion, really hitting your KPIs? That has to be something that lives directly inside our platform. How do you drive increased engagement during a live show? We know that if you create a big lull where you're not continuing to publish new items into a stream, engagement starts to drop off. And we know that on a per merchant basis, based around the data that we've collected to date. We want to make sure that we're giving you that prompt as a creator to potentially look at publishing a new item to re-establish engagement with people who might be dropping out. And finally, we want to highlight really what matters to customers. Is the chat particularly busy? Are there a large number of open questions that need to be answered? We want to make sure that that's an integrated part of our tools so that none of our merchant partners have to guess whether or not they're supposed to be really diving in, or even encouraging their presenters to start to respond to some of those questions in stream. So I could probably bang on about our product roadmap for the next hour. I'm also very aware that at some point, Sophie is going to rugby tackle me off the stage. There's also, I know, only so much appetite for me shilling our product. So with that in mind, I would just say if anybody has any questions about any of the stats, or incidentally would just like to talk about our product roadmap, I'm going to be kicking around all day, and I'm always very happy to chat.
Thank you so much, David, for being here.